and welcome to Tayo Mini Reads, Reviews, Discusses, Monologues about everything and anything, and that's on period. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Hope you guys have had a wonderful month so far. This is going to be a September wrap up for the books that I finished in September. Typically, I average about 5 to 7 books in a month, and this month was not any different because I finished 5 books in September, and they were pretty good reads. Some of them were actually really surprising, or one of them was surprising. I didn't even think that I was going to like it, but I actually did. And so stay tuned to the very last book for that surprising read. Without talking too much, let's get into it. So the first book that I read or I finished in September of 2025 was The Knights of Erador by Phillip Quaintrell. So if you've been following me for most part of the year, I had earlier this year been reading the Echo Saga series or trilogy, which is a astonishing 9 books. And it's staggered. You have the first trilogy, then you have second trilogy, and now I'm on the third and final trilogy. We have been following this merry band of characters from book 1. We have a dwarf, a couple of elves, we have a werewolf, we have, I'm trying to see who else. We have humans and dragons. And so, it's just a motley bunch of people. So the Knights of Erador actually takes place 15 years after the events of the previous book, which was The Age of the King. And so in this book, Vighon, who was just a regular commoner person, in the last book, he was crowned king. And so we see him now 15 years into his rule. And you can kind of see like he is not doing pretty well, which is so sad. And that's the thing though, because sometimes you can argue against the monarchy, but they spent years grooming their children and their successors so that once they step into that official role, they are able to bear the mantle of being a leader, being a king, blah, blah, blah. You see Vighon really struggling. He is not doing well at all. And I'm not saying I blame him, but I'm just saying that this is someone that was not very equipped to be a king. Just only had this moral compass of I need to do right by people. Maybe that's not really enough. But he is suspicious of his people and is trying to investigate some issues of lack of loyalty from the neighboring countries that swear allegiance to him. I mean, although we do find out that this is all a plan by someone else, but still, Vighon is still struggling. That's really the long and short of it. We also see Asher being pulled into a different, adventure or mystery. And we also follow Doran, the dwarf, who realizes that something is up with his country people, and so we're investigating that. We also see Inara and her twin brother Elijah, where if you did read The Age of the King, there was a lot of foreshadowing going on about what was going to happen to Elijah. And so when you see him in in the Knights of Erador, you kind of feel like, oh, okay, maybe nothing's gonna happen. And then I'm not going to say, but the first parts of the book, like the first 2 to 3, like, I don't know, half of the book was a bit slow because they were, Philip Quaintrell, the author, was setting up a couple of things, but I think it paid off because by the end I was like, ooh boy, this is going to be a fight to, I honestly cannot tell you who I think is going to live and who is going to. It just seems like really, 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 really bad for all of them. So I have 2 more books in the series. Hopefully I can get to finish it. I definitely enjoyed reading this Echo Saga series. I have a full-length video on at least the first trilogy. So if you're interested, I will try and link it below so you can go and watch that so you can get a little more familiar about the book that I'm talking about. So the next book that I finished in September of 2025 was Next of Kin by Bonam-Young. So I'm sorry, I have my notes. I just want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. So, Hannah Bonam-Young was a author for me after I finished Out on a Limb because I absolutely adored that book. That was a 5-star read for me. And so I'm pretty consistent. Like if I read an author that is pretty good, I just kind of stick to them, and whatever they buy, I consume. I mean, whatever they write, I consume. This has not really been the case, and I'm a little conflicted. So I read another book which was Out of the Woods, and this is the third book that I'm reading of this author, which is Next of Kin, and I did not like it. So I don't believe that I will be continuing on with any of Hannah Bonam Young's books. Not that she's a bad writer, but I mean, I'm not close it off. I may, but I don't think she's going to be an auto buy author for me. I would only buy it if it's a good deal, which is exactly what happened here. Next of Kin was like $1.99 on Kindle. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm familiar with her works. Let me get it. I didn't, I, it was okay. It wasn't like, oh my God, it wasn't even close to what was Out on a Limb, which is so sad. I'm like, how do you go from that to like blah, right? So let me just give you the synopsis. In Next of Kin, we follow Chloe, who she's about 24 ish. She's an adult. She's been to college, everything, but she was actually placed in the system when she was younger, maybe like 4 or 5 years old, because her mother was an alcoholic, a drunk. Like she could not physically take care of her child, and so Chloe gets adopted by this couple and kind of lives her life separate from her mom. So she's in a grocery store. She gets a call one day, and they say, "Hey, your mother has given birth. We're in the hospital. We need you to come because you are basically the next of kin." And typically, what CPS will do, that's Child Protective Services, is they always try to keep children within their family, before they have to adopt them or place them in a stranger's home. So Chloe goes to the hospital, and she's going to try to adopt her baby sister. But one of the requirements is, or some of the requirements are, she has to have a good job and she has to have a place to live. She has a job, but she's a freelancer, so money comes in whenever she gets a job, right? So, in order for her to be able to qualify to take care of her baby sister, CPS had this program called Team Up, where you could team up with a different person who is probably in the same situation and probably needs assistance to also make them or help them be able to keep, the rights, or to keep their sibling pretty much. So we enter Warren. Warren is also a youngish guy who is trying to fight for custody for his brother who's deaf, and he's about 15, so he's pretty old, right? So Warren has a 1 bedroom, and he has a steady source of income. He has a really good job. So they come together because Warren needs to have a 2 bedroom because his brother is 15 years old, and that's one of the requirements for CPS to allow him fully adopt his brother. So we see Chloe and Warren you know form this kind of like roommates of convenience, where they have to live together for a certain, like, I think 6 months, so they can get to whenever is their court date, get approved, and keep their siblings with them. So, I mean, it sounds pretty basic, and I would say I did enjoy learning about CPS and being in the foster care system. I mean, not like I enjoyed it. I'm just saying, like, it's just a different perspective that I'm not typically exposed to, or have heard a lot about. So it's really sad. You see these kids that are abandoned by their parents for no no solid reason, so it's really sad. And I know CPS is very, like, there are a lot of kids that are abandoned. So this was a good, insightful read in that perspective. What I did not like was the romance between Warren and Chloe. It felt manufactured, felt fake. Chloe felt, she didn't feel like a real person. She didn't foster any relationship. I mean, it was just so. And then the way they got together, I was like, okay, okay, fine. They got together. Like they eventually admitted feelings. They went on a date, and I'm not joking. Throughout the date, they kept on. She was just like, oh, "I love you so much." He's like, "I love you too," and that's literally all they were doing. I was like, okay, talk about other things, guys. What do you like about yourselves? Oh, I love you so much. Oh, you're so precious to me. And then I don't know. I was like, oh, please. I was physically rolling my eyes, like, okay. And then whenever he was trying to like ask her to be his girlfriend, he takes her to this place and he sings a song. It was such a cringy. Okay, so I don't know. She's gonna have to go on the back burner. I mean, Hannah Bonam-Young, because I don't think I will be in a hurry to pick up any of her books anymore. This wasn't bad. It was not. It wasn't a total failure, but it just felt fake compared to like an Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood's like her romances are like top notch. Like I'm like, ooh, I get the shivers. Okay, so I don't know. She needs to up her game. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. So the next book that I read in September was okay. So this one, I'm actually pretty ashamed of myself, and you know what? I can go ahead and just say it. I'm ashamed of myself. And that's all I'm gonna say. But I have had this book since 2021. I think I bought it at like a Barnes and Noble sale. So I had this because one thing I do, which is so funny, is I threw it out. When I get a book, I actually leave the receipt inside the book so that whenever I actually get to read it, I'm like, oh, I bought it on this. It's just a nostalgic thing. Anyways, I've had this book for at least 3 years and I never picked it up. Why? I couldn't tell you, but I eventually picked it up. In every Mirror She's Black, we follow three women who are linked to this guy called what's his name, Johnny von Luden, who is a Swedish businessman. And we find out how these women's lives are intersected with this dude. They're all black women. Kemi, one of the characters, is a Nigerian woman who's a marketing exec. She works in a company in DC, and so she gets this offer from this Swedish company which is headed or owned by Johnny Van Luden. So that's her connection to Johnny. And then we also meet Brittany, who is like a Black American flight attendant. She works for an airline and she caters to the first class and business passengers. And so on one of her flights, she meets Johnny. And then we also follow Muna, who is a Somalian refugee that lives in Sweden. And she is she's trying to, I guess, apply for asylum. And so, usually, or based on the story, when you get people coming seeking asylum, they usually put them in a specific facility, or that sounds bad, like a specific farmhouse, right? Where they try to settle them and get all their papers approved, whatever. That particular institution is sponsored by Johnny Van Luden's company. So you can see how Johnny is intersected in these three women's life. This book has a sequel, which is Everything Is Not Enough, which, you know, at the end of the day, things actually happen for good, because if I had read this when I first got it, and I didn't have the second book, I would be so mad. So this was good, because immediately I finished this one, I jumped right into Everything Is Not Enough. And so I was able to finish both books like concurrent, like right after each other. It was a good read. I definitely have some thoughts. We follow Kemi as she's trying to navigate working in corporate America. And she also relocated to Sweden, and it was just a different culture and just culture shock, pretty much. Same with Brittany, because she was also an ATL. She lived in ATL and she also had to move or she had to go to Sweden at some point, and same with Muna. So it was good. I guess reading about these ladies. I have thoughts. I'm gonna do a specific in-depth video about these books because I have a lot of things to say. I don't want to spoil it. So that video is going to be more spoilery than this, but I definitely enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It's an interesting mix because the author, Lola Akinmade Åkerström, obviously she's Nigerian and she probably got married to a Swedish person. So that was interesting. Learning about the Swedish culture, and I've never been to Stockholm, so I'm like, oh, okay. I only know Stockholm for IKEA. That just sounds bad. But it was a good read. I definitely enjoyed In Every Woman, In Every Mirror She's Black, and Everything Is Not Enough by the same author. So um the last book, which was a surprising read, drum roll, was and bring her up here, was Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. So Katabasis came out in August, and there was quite a lot of buzz about this book because R.F. Kuang is very famous. I mean, she's known for writing academics, dark academia, and that kind of books, and those kinds of books. And also because of the synopsis of this book was very interesting. My interest was piqued. So I'm just gonna give you a a a snippet. It says, Dante's Inferno meets Suzanne Clark's Piranesi in this all-new dark academia fantasy from R.F. Kuang, in which two graduate students must put aside their rivalry and journey to hell to save their own professor's soul, perhaps at the cost of their own. It's very interesting. I did not read Dante's Inferno or Piranesi, but I know about what Dante's Inferno is, which talks about the rings of hell or the layers of hell, whatever way you want to call it. I think he had like a vision or something. Don't quote me on it. I don't know much about it, but I am aware of that piece of literature. So, I was piqued. My interest was because I was like, someone going to hell? How does that work? So I picked it up. Right. I got this on Amazon. You can see it has like this beautiful end papers. It does have some I guess calculations in it, and the naked hardback has this pretty like nice depiction of literally descending into hell. So why I said this was a surprising read, I just wanted to show you the back as well. Why I said this was a surprising read was the first two parts of this book. It was problematic for me. I did not like it. Not like I didn't like it, but I felt like there was a lot going on because there were a lot of academic stuff that R.F. Kuang was trying to relay. She talked a lot about paradoxes. I'm sure someone has probably put it on the internet how many paradoxes she had in this book. She had a lot. And when I say paradox, it's like something is only something because a condition exists or something like that. And using that ideology, you are able to create, magical things or affect nature, that kind of stuff. Don't quote me. Again, I'm not an academic, but we follow Alice and what's the name, Peter, as they literally descend into hell and try to find their professor because they were like, well, we're literally graduating in 1 month, and Professor Grimes is the only person that can what's the word I'm looking for? He's the only person that can grade us, and so we can pass. And they were like, oh, again, and to me that was even actually a stupid, there's a word for it. That was not a good enough reason for you to risk your life, because if you wanted to go to hell, there was a price to pay, which would be half your lifespan or something like that. This is actually fantasy because in this book, you actually their magic is academic bound, where they use chalk to draw like this, to do equations or to draw symbols, and that using the chalk and maybe like blood or whatever, they're able to you know, make something. I'm trying to explain this in a good way. Let's say you draw a circle and then you put some markings on it. You're able to create a portway or a portal, you know. So that's how the magic works in the system, is using chalk. You can literally, you can actually draw something and you can put your bottle, your water bottle in the middle and do some spells. Okay, let me say spells. You draw some spells and that bottle that contains water will be a never ending source of water. This is an example that she uses in the book. Sorry, so I'm not making that up. Well, I mean, she made it up, but you get my point. So the magic system is kind of set on academics based kind of drawing with chalk, which was pretty different for me. And then also you get a lot about Oxford and Cambridge, this UK institutions that are just well established. Everyone knows Oxford, everyone knows Cambridge, that kind of stuff. So it was a good read. Why I said it was surprising was because about like the 2/3 of the book, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to have to DNF this book, because I felt like Armstrong wasted a lot of time just meandering, right? It just kept on like, oh, it was like paradox after paradox, like, okay, can we get to the story? So I felt like she strayed a little, but once it gets to like maybe the half point of the book, it kind of picks up. A lot of things happen, and then one thing that I was like, you did, or you do see character growth from the character, which was surprising, because Alice, and it's not even just like character growth. You could see that Alice was ignorant of some of the characteristic traits that she had that were negative. And so it's literally going on like a journey of self-discovery. And when she does discover herself, she basically becomes a better person. So I definitely like that aspect of it, which is really different from when she wrote Yellowface, that's Hour of Kuang, where the character was just a terrible person and there was literally no redemption for that character. But here you do see Alice coming to terms and realizing that, oh my God, yeah, I probably have not been a good person. So Katabasis was really interesting. I would say that this is not for everybody. To be quite honest, I'm not a dark academia person. There are some that I haven't actually read a lot. The only one I did read was Blood of a Bright Haven, which was by Emma Wong, and that was a phenomenal, fantastic read. So I don't read a lot of dark academia, so I wouldn't know. And that's why I said this book was surprising, because I felt like I didn't like it, but I definitely liked the way it ended. And I liked a couple of other things that went on in the book. So if you're not a dark academia person, if you don't like hearing about people studying and like, you know, writing theses and that kind of life, this might not be for you. A lot of the paradoxes did not make sense to me. I tried to Google some of them, and I was like, okay, I mean, okay, fine. This is the result of this paradox. How does that help me? So I think it's not a bad book. I definitely will recommend Katabasis, but I definitely enjoyed it. I will probably not read it again, because I think my original interest was mostly about the fact that how can someone physically descend to hell? So that was why I was interested in the book. And so I think I've gotten what I wanted to get from it. So yeah, if that sounds up your alley, go ahead, pick it up. But this has been interesting talking about the books I read in September. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or let me know if you want to read any of these books. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Until then, bye.